So that's part one. In terms of writing as a way to do that, I think of writing as sort of like externalized thinking. I still, if I have like a very hard problem or if I feel a little bit confused about something, have not found anything better to do than to like sit down and make myself write it out.
I was talking to your assistant. She said that you think very clearly. You're like a man of few words, but when you say something, it's really, you're clear on what you want and you've really crystallized your message.
I guess the part of that resonates is I do try to like get at the essence of a problem, and I definitely don't like when other people communicate unclearly.
I thought it was really interesting in your conversation with Joe Hudson, how you spoke about the way that you've released anxiety from your life. How has that change in your internal state shown up in your thinking?
I don't remember who said this, but someone, I don't even remember if this is a friend or this is like a famous quote, but someone said like most people can't even let themselves think the interesting thoughts, much less say the interesting ideas. If you're like a bundle of anxiety and you have like an inner monologue spinning you in all sorts of different directions, it's hard to really sit down and focus. But if you're like constantly self-critical, if you're constantly saying, well, what will other people think about this? I've heard people say things like, well, that might be an interesting idea, but I would like feel embarrassed or foolish to even like tell people that I was thinking about it or working on it. Like if you can't even let yourself like go pretty far down the path of an exploring idea before you worry about what other people are going to think about it, that seems bad.
This idea that you have around people spend so much time trying to think about how to be more productive, but you're like, hold on. Let's talk about how to really think about what we're going to work on in the first place.
Yeah.
How does writing help you do that?
So first of all, I strongly agree that if you have a choice between spending some effort thinking about what to work on versus how to like be a little bit more productive in this new method or that new method, higher impact thing most of the time. Of course, that doesn't work all the time. It's when you actually have to go execute. But I often see people who I think are really talented, work super hard, are super productive, just not spend much time, or surprisingly often not really spend any time at all in a meaningful way thinking about what they're going to work on. And I think that's like the high order bit. So that's part one. In terms of writing as a way to do that, I think of writing as sort of like externalized thinking. I still, if I have like a very hard problem or if I feel a little bit confused about something, have not found anything better to do than to like sit down and make myself write it out. Write out like what I'm, how I'm thinking about it, what I think somebody should be, try to like figure out how to explain it to myself or to somebody else. So I think it's just like, it is a super powerful thinking tool. I write things down for myself, or for the most, and for like private groups the second most, and public at this point very rarely.
What are the different parameters of clear communication? There's sort of the sloganeering, there is a good tagline, there's also the depth, the idea maze.
Yeah, actually I think clear communication is very much less important and very much downstream of actually clear thinking. So if you know what you're going to do, if you've like figured out how to like reduce that to the essence of why it's a good idea and what the plan is going to be, what the priorities are going to be, then communicating clearly about that is not so hard. But getting clear about the actual ideas is really hard. And so I think unclear communication is a symptom of unfocused thinking for the most part.
Napoleon, he has a line about the importance of clear directives, clear communication, because when you're on the battlefield, you need to be able to articulate things simply and have alignment for the team. Lots of similarities with what you're saying.
I mean, I don't think that's just Napoleon. I think that, as I understand it, I haven't studied a lot of military history, but that's like a pretty common refrain. Like that seems to have been borne out by history. But I also think that's like borne out in business, that clarity, speed, quality of execution, all linked. Write for myself to clarify my own thinking. And that has been super powerful. Even the ability to like write a message to like explain to a team what a plan is and why we're going to do it. I think doing that in writing versus doing that in a meeting is often very powerful.
Have you done that recently?
It's like if we're starting a new project or if we're putting together some sort of like plan that we're going to execute on, forcing myself to write it down rather than just like sit in a meeting and let it spitball around has been very good.
Do you have a format of sorts?
No. I mean, I try to like keep it under, I don't think long is good.
Yeah.
So I try to keep it short, but beyond that, no real constraints.
In what ways did people's thinking reveal themselves through the writing of YC Apps?
The biggest thing that I took away most of the time is how rare clarity of expression in a YC application is. And it's rare, even though we say like, this is really important and it seems obvious that that's what you should try to do. But I found on the whole that people who did not express themselves clearly in a YC application did not run the company in a clear way, did not explain to the team what they were doing, did not explain to investors, to customers, everything else what they were doing in a clear way. And that is a very hard way to have a chance at success for a company. So much of your job as a founder or anyone leading any kind of company is like evangelist in chief. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to be an effective evangelist without clear communication.
So tell me about fragility and how writing factors into this.
The thing that is most important to me personally about writing is like externalized thinking and organization, magnification, whatever you want to call it, of vague ideas. I find it astonishing how much writing just for yourself, sometimes for a small group of other people you're exploring an idea with, but mostly writing just for yourself helps clarify what you actually think, helps like sharpen stuff in a way that for me, and I think for a lot of other people, is somehow impossible to do just like thinking carefully on a long hike.
Like in your head.
Yeah. It's harder to hide really messy thinking when you have to actually write it down and look at, like, stare at it.
So tell me more about the process.
You know, getting exposed to like a lot of ideas and then having some time alone to think, to write, to just sort of like do some deep work, whatever that is. I think obviously this is a super important pattern to a lot of people, definitely to me. My sort of like rough rhythm is I'm like, you know, in the office kind of nonstop all week. I have no time to think. It's just like kind of crazy packed. And then on the weekends, I have like long, quiet blocks and I'm not really around people. And that cycle is very important to me.
And is that fractal? Like, do you sometimes take a few weeks off or anything like that?
I used to. I think that's like really good. Like when I've taken like long chunks of time off, I would do like a month of like nonstop hanging out with people and then like a month of, you know, being in the woods, on the beach, whatever. That doesn't really happen anymore.
Yeah. Do you take notes during the week that you reflect on, or is it just all in your head?
No, I'm a huge note taker.
Oh, tell me about that.
There's all these like fancy notebooks in the world.
Yeah.
You don't want those. You definitely want a spiral notebook because one thing that's important is you can rip pages out frequently. And you also want it to lie like flat and open on the table. And if you like open pages, you want them to like, you know, like be able to lay like this, whatever. You definitely want to be able to like rip pages out. I'm a big believer of like, I take a bunch of notes and then I like clearly like rip them out so I can look at multiple pages at the same time. And I can like crumple them up and throw them on the floor when I'm done. Like when our house cleaner comes in on like a, you know, whatever, there's just these pile of crumpled papers that I'm like type my notes in or whatever on the floor. You definitely want like a kind of paper that is like good to write on, which is a feel thing, but most paper is terrible to write on. You want hard front and back to the notepad. And you also want something that can fit in a pocket.
And how many notes you're writing per day on that thing?
I go through one of these like every 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. So you're taking a lot of...
Well, you can see how much I've ripped out. Like this used to have like 100 pages in it.
So that's how you think about it. So you're going to basically take the notebook and then you rip out the pages.
Pretty
and you
much.
Don't have completed notebooks.
I don't have completed notebooks.
Wow. A final question that we can close with is there's just a lot of people out there who are saying that AI is going to kill writing and they're angry about it. And what do you make of that?
I don't see any evidence whatsoever that AI seems to be killing writing. I mean, I don't think Paul Graham is sitting around being like, AI is gonna, you know, kill my writing here. I think it would have to be like full super intelligence before I was like, okay, this is gonna replace human writing, full stop. And we have much bigger issues to worry about at that point. Even if that happened, let's say we have a system that can write better than a human. Do you think that the most popular novel of 2027 has a human name on it or not? Like a human writer on it or not?
I think yes.
I think it does too. When I finish a great book, the first thing I go do is like, I want to know about the writer. I want to know their life story. And I don't think I'll ever have that feeling to like AI writing. There is something about you read an incredible book and you could connect to a person even though you don't literally know them. You feel like you do, and you feel like you have this important shared human experience. And that is like some significant percentage of the enjoyment of a great book to me. And I bet we keep doing that.
All right, Sam.
All right.
Thank you very much.
This was fun.
This was fun.